going on, guys? You got Chris, Sean, and Mike with Talking Through the Medias. We're going to be doing a nice subject for me and Chris. This is kind of near and dear to our hearts. So we don't really have a set name for this, but basically what this is our top retro movies that most millennials probably have not seen but should see. So we're going to start this from a perspective of a true millennial. We got Mike Chu with us here. So, Mike.
Yo, what's up?
In your opinion, let's hear from, before we even delve into our lists, which are lengthy and awesome, what are some of your considered retro movies for your friends that probably, because I guess you're a self-proclaimed movie nerd, are you not?
That is very true.
All right. So
I'm comfortable saying that.
Do you, when you talk to your friends, most of them are like, what movie?
Exactly.
They have no. All right. So let's hear from your perspective as a millennial movie nerd. Give us a list of some of your top favorite retro movies.
Okay. If we're talking retro, I have a lot of movies that people may have missed, but if we're talking retro movies...
Missed or retro? Favorites. All
my favorites from retro, we'll start with retro, are Terminator 2.
Oh, yes.
Which is an amazing, amazing movie, and American Pie. Which is an all-time hilarious movie. And those are the two retro movies that we're
American Pie is retro.
For me, it's the year I was born, so very retro.
Oh, my God.
I'm a wee little lad. And Fight Club. I guess if you want to throw in a third one in there, Fight Club.
Fight Club is epic. Fight Club is epic. Chris, what do you think? Terminator 2, American Pie, and Fight Club. What do you think? I love all of those movies.
Awesome picks. The cool thing about that, and prepare yourself, because this is going to be like the most awesome little lecture we're ever going to give.
I'm so ready.
The cool thing about American Pie is that I could not watch one without watching the second. I felt like I always fuse those together as one movie. I always watched American Pie 1 and American Pie 2 back to back. I act like Part 3 didn't exist, but Part 1 and Part 2 was pretty badass. Yeah, good picks. What was your other one, Mike? You said that
Terminator 2, American Pie, and Fight Club.
Fight Club, yeah.
Wow. Funny thing about Terminator 2 was just, a classic. One of the rare occasions where the original was amazing, but the sequel I don't know how it did it, but it outperformed the original.
Definitely.
And the cool thing about that Fight Club will always have a special place in my heart. It's the very first DVD I ever owned. It was a gift. It was a gift given to me a long time ago, and that movie started my DVD collection. So, my love for movies. So yeah, pretty cool.
Absolutely, all those are great movies. I do remember being like 10 or 11, and my dad taking me to go see Terminator 2 for one of the first release day for that, and me just seeing the first one. I didn't get to see the trailer or anything like that for the second one. No, I did. But anyway, I walked out of that movie, and I was just like slack jaw floored down to the fucking floor. That was the coolest shit I have ever seen. That movie was phenomenal. It still is phenomenal. In my top 5 list of all greatest movies of all time, T2, good job.
Some amazing feats with special effects that he reached with that movie. That movie did things that you didn't think was possible at that time.
Definitely.
It probably shouldn't have been possible. When you had the T-1000, like he jumped on the helicopter, smashes the glass with his head, and then melt inside, and then when still in his liquid form, talk. You're like, get out.
You guys like, okay.
That technology should not have been so smooth back then. You should still have been able to see the green screen kind of like mess up a little bit. It was so smooth how they did that. That in the Abyss. It was so cool how they did that perfectly.
Do you remember the scene? Do you remember the scene? The scene it was such a simple little thing, but it stuck out so good. And even when you watch it now, you're like, how did they do that? The scene where they're in the mental hospital, and the T2 meets up with them, and they lock a door and break the key off into the lock, and the warden's got the little syringe holder in his mouth, and the guy walks by and he drops it out of his mouth. The dude walks through a barred gate, and his gun gets stuck in the gate at the end when he walks through it, and he has to kind of twist the gun and pull it through to get through the gate. But he walks through the bar.
Amazing scene.
I'm sure there was like some kind of a cut, where like they they told him to put his hand through the bar and kind of go back as far as he could, and then kind of walk a little bit and look and have that
Dude,
gun
the
stuck.
bars just melted.
And they fused the special effects and then the part where it was real together so well. I'm sure there was some kind of a cut,
I'm
like
sure,
CGI
but it was amazing.
kind of a edit thing happening there, if I guess, but they did it so smoothly that it looked real. I mean, I'm telling you, they did things that honestly, the effects still kind of hold up today. I mean, they do.
Yeah.
It should not have been possible back then what they accomplished, and that's
it was the most expensive movie ever made at the time. I remember that.
Just like Jurassic Park, they did stuff with that movie that should not have been possible at the time. George Lucas and
Steven Spielberg
and the director for the Terminator, what's his name? James Cameron. They pushed the envelope and they created technology that did not exist back then and pushed us to the level that we're at today, especially George Lucas.
Yeah.
So those were some good picks. So Mike, you said you have seen those movies, right?
Yeah, I have one more to add. Now that we're just going to talk about CGI and all that, I have The Faculty, which I just saw really recently. Another 90s Elijah Wood, Josh Hartnett.
It's got the villain from Terminator 2 in it too.
Yep, Robert Patrick's in it. He's the football coach. It's really good.
Get the fuck off my field!
That was a very 90s movie.
Yeah.
The drugs
soundtrack is so 90s. The script, everything about it.
Very grunge. Very grunge. So I guess now we're gonna run down some movies that we probably gonna assume that Mike might not have seen, right, Sean?
Yes. All right. Because I've got such a huge list. Go for it, Chris. I want to hear this. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Do you want me to run through my whole list, or do you want me to go one at a time?
What do you think, Mike?
Maybe we could just go through it all, and I can tell you what I've seen, what I haven't seen, and you can tell me.
All right. So on my list, I don't have.
I got a giant list.
I don't have a great wall of movies that.
I have a great wall of movies.
I have like 7, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay.
But all right, let's start off from the very first one. I have the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeves. You've seen that?
Never seen it.
Never seen it. Okay. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from
89, the 89 version.
I've seen that. The live action version. I've seen that.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. There you go.
I have all three. I have all 3 on DVD.
3 will throw away.
What was it? He said Bossa Nova.
Demi Nova.
Nova. That movie had a bunch of great one-liners. Scarface.
Like Bossa Nova.
I've seen Scarface.
You have seen Scarface.
Yes,
all right,
good,
cool.
good,
Your
good.
cool points. Are you sure you're a millennial? Clue.
Yes.
I haven't seen the Clue movie.
You will love Clue.
You go.
No special effects.
One of the first movies that had alternate endings within the movie.
Yes.
Awesome. I mean,
the board game.
Yeah.
Based on before Hasbro made G.I. Joe, before there was Transformers, there was Clue in the 80s. But the cool thing about it is it's a period piece. It was in the 30s or the 20s or whatever like that.
Yeah.
So or the 50s. So even though it was made in the 80s, they were doing a period piece. So it's kind of cool because it's
retro inside the retro.
It's retro within itself, and yeah. So it's like, okay, it's supposed to be about the 30s. So the fact that they did it in the 80s, it still made it feel like a movie that could have probably been made today. So it was pretty.
I think they actually are remaking Clue, if I'm not mistaken.
I always feel like they should do a remake of Clue, and I don't know why. I feel like an updated version of it.
In the library with the candlestick.
Like characters of today, comedians of today, getting trapped in a mansion doing that shit. I think could you imagine Kevin Hart being in that? That was crazy.
Robin Williams would have been great in that.
Yeah. All right. After Clue, I had Explorers.
Yes.
From the 80s.
I haven't seen that.
We've talked about
it. But we've talked about it. Yes. I definitely want to check it out.
You got to check that out.
Another remake coming.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Yes.
I have not seen that.
That's the first big Tim Burton movie.
The first Tim Burton movie. You have to see Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
It's not as childish as you think it is. It's kind of
it's more childish.
Innuendo.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah, but when you go back and realize that the audience age that they were kind of catering to, this is kind of a dark, fucked up movie when you go back and watch it. But it's Tim Burton, so.
All I gotta say to you is, Large Marge.
Tell him Large Marge sent you.
Oh my God, that freaks me out. Prepare yourself, Mike. Prepare yourself. All right, and last but not least, from the 90s, I have Kevin Smith's Clerks.
Yes.
See, I've seen Clerks 2, but I've never seen the first one.
Oh, you got to see the first one.
Clerks 2 is a big
You will get a lot of jokes. I mean, Clerks 2, people think that the second one was better than the first one. I disagree. But you will get a lot of jokes if you watch Clerks 1. It's in black and white, but it's not because it's old. It's because he didn't have the money to film it in color. he maxed out his parents' credit cards to get that movie made, and it worked out for him. So you will get a lot of jokes. Like, do yourself a favor, watch Clerks, then go back and watch Clerks 2, and you're gonna
appreciate it. I
will definitely check it out. All right, so that's all that I have. Now let's sit here for the next 3 hours and listen to Sean.
All right, so I have got so many fucking movies on this list, guys. This was the easiest list I ever started. I went ADD, Red Ball, crack smoking on this list, and it just flew out the window, dude, and I had to cut myself off and detox from this shit because there's so many on this list, but I couldn't not put them on the list. And I pretty much guarantee you will love every single, almost, if not, like 90% of the movies on this you will love, Mike. As a film guy, you will love these.
All right. Let's hear it.
So these are not in any order of likingness. This is just, they came out into the paper, and this is what happened. All right, so the first one, an oldie but a goodie, Legend with Tom Cruise, came out in the mid-'80s. Chris knows what I'm talking about, Legend. Even if you hate Tom Cruise, you will love the movie Legend. It's got some of the creepiest characters you will ever see in this movie. This next one, I don't even know if Chris has seen this. I think he may have, but this was like one of those really old retro movies that is around the same age, maybe even a little newer than the other one. Solar Babies. And I don't know if you remember this one.
That sounds so ridiculous.
It
sounds great. It is. And that sounds ridiculous, and I'm the guy who's seen and loved the Rainbow Bright movie.
It's one of Jason Patric's first movies. All right, so we also got Full Metal Jacket. Did you ever see Full Metal Jacket?
I've seen Full Metal Jacket.
Good.
It's a disturbing movie.
It's very good. All right.
It's very good, though, yes.
Next on the list, we have Jacob's Ladder, which is one of my favorite movies of all times with Tim Robbins in it. Did you ever see Jacob's Ladder?
I've never seen that one.
I've tried to watch it, but it freaked me out too much, so I had to stop. That's the one about he's a vet, right? And he comes back, and he's having all these visions. Yeah, that freaked me out way too much. I couldn't finish it.
That is one of the best movies ever made, Jacob's Ladder. And if you whenever you get to a drinking age and you're drunk and you try to sit through this movie, it will give you fucking nightmares.
It already gave me nightmares.
It will give you fucking nightmares.
Whew. Okay.
But it has such a huge twist at the end of the movie. You have to see the end of this movie.
All I can imagine is that Mikey, like, he puts the disc in or the tape, whatever, he pushes play and the music goes, ooh, he's like, nope.
Can't do it. Nope, sorry.
All right, so then we come back to one of the movies we talked about a little earlier in probably my favorite time of ever going to the movies as a whole event and being prepped for it and knowing what I was going to go see and the world was excited about it, was The Abyss by James Cameron. And this is me loving ships and underwater and all that, and this was even almost more so than Terminator 2, but because it's the same guy who made it, Terminator 2 was the build-up after that. But The Abyss was the big movie that pioneered the use of CGI water and all that shit. It's about 3 hours long, and it was supposedly, and to this day, the most difficult movie ever shot.
I agree. I can believe that.
The Abyss. They had to pioneer communication technologies to be able to, because they shot the movie 90% underwater, and it was all like, the garbled from the sit. Check it out, The Abyss. All right.
Okay.
So next, horror movie that used to give me nightmares as a kid, the original Candyman. I don't know if you've ever seen this movie. A lot of people got scared by Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, but for me, the original Candyman with I believe Tony Todd, scared the living...
I feel like I have seen that.
Chris, have you seen the original Candyman?
Yeah, I've seen Candyman, and yeah, it's hard to watch. And you've seen the guy who played Candyman. You've seen him in every Final Destination movie.
That's what I was just about to say. I was going to add that to my list.
It's like you didn't know if he was just a guy who knew what was going on, or if he was death or the devil or something. You didn't know
got that role because of Candyman.
Because of Candyman, he was a legend in horror. But you know the funny thing is, you could have you could have easily replaced him with Robert Englund. I mean, could you imagine Robert Englund doing that, those cameos in all those Final Destination movies? It would have. It still would have fit.
Final Destination, yes, but I could not see anybody but Tony Todd doing Candyman.
Yeah, but I mean, if they didn't get Tony Todd, and if it would have been Robert Englund, it still would have fit. It still would have made sense.
The story was still very scary because
it still would have fit. Yeah.
It did not matter in this particular movie, Michael, if you were a child or you were an adult. He would kill you. Matter of fact, there's a scene I'll never forget in the movie, and they talk about it in the movie. It's not played in real time. It's like a reference story. I don't know if you remember this, Chris, about how she was going into the ghetto in this place called Eugenie Green's or whatever. And there's a bathroom. There's a bathroom outside, and they say that you can see evidence of the Candyman in this bathroom. And this little boy's taking her around in the ghetto. She's like a photojournalist, and he's saying you don't want to go in there. She's like, well, why not? She was like, well, a little boy got really messed up in there. And they do like a flashback, and he's like a special ed kid,
Jeez.
and he has to go pee, and his mom is across the street in the shop, and she sends him across the street into the bathroom, and then all of a sudden you hear this horrible, horrible scream. I don't know how many times they had to do this to get this right, but
don't ruin it for him. Don't give it all away, but because he's got to see this one.
But long story short, without giving many details, a man runs into the bathroom and sees what happens in there, and in the story, he comes out and his hair has turned white. Literally, his hair has turned white.
God.
He was that scared of what he saw.
And it really genuinely terrified me as a kid. Like my parents had no business letting me watch this movie as a child. Like absolutely none, no business. So anyway, that haunted my nightmares for a long time.
So it's like I judge my father now for letting me watch.
Come on, Dad.
So the next one, and I asked you about this a while ago, and I said you have a week to watch this, but I'm guessing Mike has not watched this yet. Arlington Road.
Arlington Road, yep.
You have not watched it.
I need to check it out. I still have a couple more days in my week.
One of the biggest twists at the end of this movie you will not see coming, and that's all I'll say about that. So
M. Night Shyamalan. What a twist!
The M. Night Shyamalan. Even better than an M. Night Shyamalan. All right, so then we got Mike. Have you seen The Lethal Weapon 1 and 2?
I've seen Lethal. There's 4, right? The last one was with Jet Li and Chris Rock and all that. I've seen all 4 of them. Yep.
Okay, good.
Mel Gibson, Dan Glover, great movie.
Next movie on the list.
Shit, Riggs.
Yeah, let's just let him go, man. I'm sure he's I'm sorry for what he did at the end. And they're just like, no, man, we got to take him down. He's like, fuck, you're right. Because he was getting his ass. He was kicking both of their asses at the end of the movie.
Yeah. How did he do that thing with the gun, man?
How did he do that, man?
Let's go ask him.
All right. So this next one on the list, I think Chris has just seen recently, and this was one of my favorite movies. My favorite all-time car in any movie of any time, period. Charlie Sheen in The Wraith. Have you ever seen The Wraith?
Never seen it.
Oh my! Oh, that's right. You've never even really seen a Charlie Sheen movie.
Yeah, I told you that. I've never seen a Charlie Sheen-led film. At least not to my knowledge. Not that I remember.
This movie is so cheesy. It has such a cheesy 80s metal soundtrack. It's got Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest and all this stuff. But the car in this movie still looks badass to this day, and it's a real car. So
you should go back into the channel and check out our review of that.
Grade A/B movies. And he was like, I don't know. And then he watched it, and he actually really liked it. So.
I was like, it's pretty good. Yeah.
But it was like, who is that man? I don't know, but he's really weird and ticked off. They got a lot of cheesy lines in that movie. That's so